Okay, good morning, everybody. Again, it's very kind of you to come to listen to me. Since Rinpoche was talking about the 8 worldly concerns yesterday, I said to Jean-Paul, you know, like, there's many people, I know many people and many people know me, but some people don't know me at all. So that's the best, because, you know, they don't expect anything. They kind of go, what? Who is this? Also, when I changed name, that was really interesting, from Anirita to Losang. Losang, nobody knows. Anirita, they go like, oh, Anirita, no, no, you know, all this. And so it's like, you know, when Jean-Paul said yesterday, like, you know, this, and this, and this, and fantastic and all that. Also, I received a lot of praise yesterday. Thank you very much. I try to receive the praise with an attitude that it's good for the person that is praising me, because it makes the mind happy when you give praise, because you see the good sides. So it's good for the people that are actually giving the praise. It's not so good for the people who are receiving the praise. So it's good if we look at praise like this. But I wanted to talk about expectations, actually, because we carry around with us a lot of expectations that we don't feel, or they're not conscious. We only become aware of them when they're not getting fulfilled, right? So, for example, and then when they're not getting fulfilled, we get angry, because we didn't see that we have all these totally unrealistic expectations. Like, we go out in a day, we go out into the world with an expectation that everybody is kind to us, that nobody will lie to us, that nobody will steal from us, that nobody will scratch your car. And in Switzerland, we go out of the house with an expectation that the bus and the train is totally on time. Now, not in India. Okay, so you see in India, when they say the train is like 3 hours late and it comes after 4 hours, you're happy. Because you know when they say 3 hours, it's probably going to last 6 hours. So it comes after 4 hours, you're quite happy. In Switzerland, train is 10 minutes late, is like big disaster, isn't it? So we have all these expectations that are kind of totally unrealistic. We also put pressure on the people that we call friends. Yeah? Sometimes I get introduced, they say, this is Anirita, this is Losang, my friend. And then I go like, sorry, I didn't know that I was your friend. Because if that person labels me as their friend, they expect from me to be friendly to them, to help them when they need help, to be there for them when they need to be listened to. But if I don't know that I'm their friend, then I'm not kind of, do you see what I mean? So I'm not kind of putting extra effort in behaving like a friend. And then they get hurt. So again, you know, this whole thing about saying, oh, this is my friend, maybe ask them first if it's okay for them to be your friend also. We used to do this as children. Yeah, I don't know if it's still done. You know, we had these books, and then if it was your friend, you would put a kind of little verse in it and some pressed flowers or whatever. And so then it was clear. It's like a contract, okay? We're friends, so then you have to behave like a friend, okay? So if both of you know that there's a contract, then it's okay. If only one knows and is expecting that the other one also keeps to the contract, then we're having problems. So Rinpoche was talking a lot about attachment and anger yesterday, and also about, you know, what is holy Dharma and what is worldly Dharma. So very often also when we talk about Dharma practice, people think that, you know, and they say, how is your Dharma practice going? Well, I haven't really had time to meditate. I wasn't on a pilgrimage. I haven't done retreat. And this is what we call Dharma practice usually, something like very official. But then actually when we look, what is Dharma practice, then, as Rinpoche said, when this person was circumambulating, doing prostrations, reciting texts and all this, and Trungpa was saying it would be better for you to practice Dharma, then he got confused and said, well, what do you mean by practicing Dharma? So renounced his life. That is what is practicing Dharma. But then again, here in the West, when we hear that, we kind of go like, what does that mean? Do I just then, avoid everything that creates happiness? If somebody offers me some chocolate, I go like, no, this is pleasure, I don't want it. Is that what it means to renounce life? Does it mean that we have to be miserable? And then we're good Dharma practitioners because we understand the suffering. Everything is suffering, everything is misery, and all this. Does it mean that? I think it was from Venerable Rene that I heard at one point, Dharma practice means whatever decreases your sense of I that takes all the space, that is Dharma practice. Whatever increases it in terms of I don't get what I want, or I don't want to lose what I have, or this other one has something better than me, whatever makes that sense of me, I, stronger, and it takes up all the space, that is not Dharma practice. And I found this a very good explanation. So from time to time, it is really helpful if you check, how your Dharma practice is really going, how we react in certain situations. And it's very helpful sometimes also to ask your friends. Like my ex-boyfriend, after having become a nun, so after about 10 years, I came back to Switzerland, and he's married and he has children, and I became the auntie for their children. So then he was looking at me and he said like, wow, it's incredible how much you changed. I think now I could live with you. So you see, for a Dharma practitioner, this is a compliment. For somebody else, it might have been an insult, I don't know. But I thought like, wow, this is great. Somebody who knows me so well, and who really can therefore, and who for so close, and then could really see that the difference that this is making. So coming to these 8 worldly concerns, like, something that looks very worldly can become Dharma practice. Something that looks very Dharma practice can become totally worldly. So it doesn't depend on the action that you do. It really depends on the motivation why you are doing this. Whether you do you do this for the happiness of this life? Or whether you do this for example, the happiness of all, or whether you even do it like to prepare for a good human rebirth in your next life, liberation, and finally full awakening. So the action is not the most important thing. But I think here in the West we do put a lot of importance on what we do, on the action, not on the motivation. We don't really check, even though we hear it again and 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 again. How many times have we already heard, when you start your actions, when you start your practice, please check your motivation? How many times have we heard it? How many times do we do it? Yeah? So again, our busy, very quick Western life, we forget, or we think we don't have time. We think it's a waste of time. Yeah. So Rinpoche was talking about jogging yesterday. Yeah. So anybody who jogs, I'm not going to ask people who is jogging, because he was kind of thinking that maybe that's not so helpful. But when you go jogging, especially for a marathon or something like that, if you don't do the warm-ups, you will not run very far, is it? Nobody is nodding. Don't you dare to nod? Don't you jog? Nobody? Okay, so the motivation and then doing actually the preparation before we do these practices is like the warm-up. So it's just methods in order then for us to be able to do the job that we want to do, meaning transforming the mind. Yeah. Like also with this whole thing about the Dharma practice, what we usually think is Dharma practice, these are just the methods in order to transform the mind, like the meditation, the pilgrimage, the sadhanas, what that we do, and all these kind of things. So maybe it's, you see, this is my sweet thing. I don't have the courage to say, okay, let's do the meditation on the motivation now. I just noticed, I always start with, maybe now we can do a meditation on the motivation. So I leave it up to you what you want to do. Okay, so but we sit again and do a short reflection to become, again, to go inside and to become really aware of why we are here. And when you see that maybe the motivation is not so good, or maybe not so pure, Rinpoche talks about purity. Purity, whatever is pure, leads to happiness. Whatever is impure leads to suffering, something unwanted. Yeah. So also sometimes with truth, there's one quote by Nagarjuna, like on the conventional level, nothing is really true because nothing is itself. Yeah. It can always be manipulated. It can always be looked at from another side, like the glass can be, now it's full, so it's difficult. But the glass can be half empty or half full. Depends how you look at it. But then we still need, like the question yesterday with this valid mind. I don't know if Alexandre is here. Maybe not. So the question with the valid minds, even though we don't have a valid, unmistaken, direct perceiver, as it is called, who perceives in an unmistaken way, we still have kind of we still need to rely on the little bit of wisdom that we have. So since nothing is kind of completely true on the conventional level, so Nagarjuna, to help us, he said, that which leads to happiness is true. And not just happiness for myself, but happiness for all other beings as well. So for example, I think something that we can see is true is also that a fact, which is based on truth, that everybody wants to be happy. Now, what makes them happy? That is a lot of different things, or maybe better to say everybody wants well-being. So how they want to achieve that, this is difficult to know. There's many, many different ways. And also a fact is that nobody wants to suffer. So even those people who pay money to suffer, they're called masochists. Why do they do it? They do this voluntarily because they want to be happy. Even anger, who is such an unhappy mind, uses anger in order to attain happiness, meaning in order to get free of what seems to create the problem or the unhappy mind. Yeah, do you see what I mean? Yeah. So even though anger is by itself is a very unhappy mind, but we use it in order to be more happy. So this is totally illogical, because we use a mind by nature is unhappy in order to create a happy mind. And it's the same with desire and attachment. Desire and attachment is a mind that projects outside that the happiness is in the object. And it's very unhappy when it doesn't have it. Or with attachment, even though I have it. It's a very nice pen, by the way, we got. Have you noticed? Yeah, it's very beautiful. So it's very nice touch also. One could get attached to it, yeah. So it projects that the happiness that comes from the happy feeling or the pleasant feeling that comes from touching this pen is coming from the pen. We don't see that it comes from the mind. But it could be a person also. If I go like, I am happy because I have this pen, yeah, then there's already the fear of losing it. And Rinpoche was also talking about this, how he tries to console people who have lost other people when they die. that he says, we have met so many times already, and we will meet again. Yeah, and the way we I think the way we leave off, this is how we're going to continue later on. So you will not recognize this person as your husband or your wife or your children or whatever, but we will have an open heart when we meet them. We will have a good feeling towards them. So so you see again, when we undo these knots now, we benefit already in our life now that whomever we meet, we can meet them with an open heart. So, and we can carry that into our next lives. I mean, do you have people in your life that you you're not so happy meeting? You know, you're a bit nervous when you meet them. Like you would rather avoid them. Can you imagine that? There seems to be a little problem here, maybe. So, is it? Yeah. So, can you imagine a life like Rinpoche's life? I'm sure, the Dalai Lama's life. Whomever they meet, it provokes a happy feeling in their heart. Because why? Because they have love and compassion towards them. They want to benefit. So there's no fear of at the closed heart to, I'm angry, so maybe they get angry at me and all this. Yeah. And so it's quite good also. I have moments where I can truly say, at the moment I think it's like this also. Then as of course somebody else comes along and then that's finished. But I have moments where I can really say there's not one person in the world that I already know that I wouldn't like to meet. Moments are short, yeah, because as I'm saying, then somebody else comes in my field of vision and then, again, the closed heart. But I really enjoy these moments that whomever I meet, I'm happy to meet these people. And this is something that when we see that I'm not happy, that we start to work with it, okay? In order to undo these knots. And Rinpoche was very briefly also talking about death and, the need to purify our mind. Because, for example, our intellectual knowledge of the Dharma is, for some people that I know that sitting is very, very high. Yeah, we know like all the lists. This is from Venerable Birgit. I love this. She says, Christians believe in God and Buddhists believe in lists. So she's sitting right here. So it's from her. So this is a bit like that. So you know all the lists. And but then our emotional reaction to what happens in the world is these are the lists that we know. And then our emotional reaction is like this. So these methods in the Dharma practice are supposed to go until we're here. So it doesn't matter where you stand, but it's important to see that I'm not quite there and then to start to work with your emotional reactions. Now there's two categories of people, I think, on this planet that have like this already, okay? So the Buddhas, the enlightened beings, of course, their intellectual knowledge and their emotional reaction is totally like that. They react always with concern for others. Then there's the people also, there's another category of people that is like this intellectual knowledge, like their views, what they think, and then how they react is also like this. And I think we can be very happy that we're not belonging to that category, because it's people who think that being angry and harming is a good thing, because their minds are so confused and they suffer so much that then the only way that they can that they can release the frustration of their suffering is by aggression. I don't think that people choose to be aggressive. Same as us. Yeah. When we are angry, when we are frustrated, when we are stressed, we cannot just tell the mind, come on, stop it. We might be showing a friendly face, but inside here is closed. Yeah. Then slowly, slowly, with these methods, you can dissolve the tension here in the heart. But you need to feel it here. Just having it up in the head, again, it doesn't really help. And this is where, like, mindfulness or awareness meditation, really, really, really helping. Yeah. But for that, you need to train the mind to see what is going on. So the moment you feel the coming up, you can let go. Like, after about maybe 7 years of practice, somebody of my old schoolmates saw me when I was in Switzerland. She asked me, okay, so now after 7 years of, being a nun and practicing, do you have any diplomas? Because all my schoolmates, they're all, lawyers and doctors. And yeah, so they think I'm a bit weird. They kind of go like, well, it's very nice what you're doing. Kind of, you're not harming anybody with what you're doing. But, I don't need to do this. I'm happy. Yeah. So I said, well, it's fine. I'm very happy when you're happy, definitely. It's like I have nothing against it, so that's fine. So she asked me, well, can you show something? So I said, well, no, I don't have diplomas. But now I really feel at the beginning when I get angry, and I still can't catch it. I mean, I can feel it, and there's still moments where it still comes up, and it comes out here. But it's getting better and better and better and better. Like, I know that there's anger in the mind. And she said, that's all? If she would know how much effort went into that, how many hours of meditation went into that, and how much happier my life and other people's life became because of that, I think they would value it even a bit more. But anyway, it's like I've been in a Protestant newspaper, which is like Swiss-wide, and so my schoolmates saw it. So I got all these emails. Could you please come and visit us and tell us about your interesting life? So you see, you have a photograph in a newspaper, you become a different person. You sit on a stage, you become a different person. So it's like you become what other people see in you, but you don't have to believe what they see. Yeah. So coming back to these 8 worldly dharmas, okay? So a worldly being, or the world, believes that if you have pain, that is unhappiness. If you have pleasure or pleasant feelings, that is happiness. If you have gain, that is happiness. If you have loss, that is unhappiness, or causes unhappiness, let's say like this. If you have a good reputation, or if you're known, let's say like that. If you're known, if you're a friend, that causes happiness. If you're not known, that causes unhappiness. If you receive praise, that causes happiness. If you receive criticism, that causes unhappiness, right? We take these 2 things, pleasure and pain, as totally opposite. So we run after this one, and as much as possible we try to avoid the other one. Yeah? Because our mind has labeled, pleasure is good, I want. Pain is not good, I don't want. And then, of course, there's attachment and aversion. So we constantly kind of fear and hope. We're afraid of getting this, and we're hoping of getting this. Well, see, if hope would get us what we want, we would all have what we want. If fear would kind of keep away what we don't want, then we would never get what we don't want. So it's like, and it's two minds who have a lot of side effects. Yeah, like with attachment, we create. With hope, we create kind of the desire, wanting it, and with fear, we create aggression of like trying to protect ourselves from getting it. So it makes, it's not just these 2 mind states; it also creates a lot of other ones. So now there is one sutra which is from the founder vehicle, from the Theravadan vehicle, which is called the 8 Vicissitudes, which is very nice, where the Buddha explains about these 8 things. Sometimes it's called the 8 winds, because they're very changeable. Yeah. So he says, for worldly beings, these 2 things are totally opposite. Now, we have to look ourselves. Are we worldly beings, or are we well-instructed disciples of the Buddha? Because for them, they are the same. They must be more confused than us. How can pain and pleasure be the same? So he continues, when a worldly being meets with pleasure, meets with gain, meets with praise, and meets with a good reputation, they're happy, elated, kind of really, not depressed, and very, very alive. But then when they meet with the opposite, when they meet with pain, loss, bad reputation, and criticism, they get depressed, they get sad, they get angry. Because they don't know that pleasure and pain is impermanent, bound to suffering, and subject to change. For a well-instructed disciple, they don't get elated and they don't get depressed, because they know that these things are impermanent, bound up to suffering if we believe them as really truly existent, and subject to change, means they are empty. Yeah. So, and we can see, even for worldly beings, sometimes when we meet with praise, we are embarrassed, because, especially if, for example, if somebody comes to me and says, wow, you made such a nice altar. Then I have to say, well, sorry, I didn't do anything in this. Yeah. Or I could start to kind of take the praise, but then there's an uneasy feeling because it's a lie, because I didn't do anything. Yeah, do you see what I mean? So even praise, or when you think it's not justified, so even praise can make us unhappy, or maybe you, I don't know, gain. Maybe you get something, and then you understand that somebody else needs it more than when you do. Then again, you can get very uncomfortable. Okay. But in general, when like pleasant feelings, they're not suffering when they're there. They're just pleasant. Okay. They only become suffering when we project that there's happiness to be found in those pleasant feelings. So we have to check, when we do our Dharma practice, it's clear, yeah, these 4 pairs that for us are opposite, and that we run after one and we try to avoid the other one. Is that clear? This is what we call 8 worldly concerns. So if we practice for this life, and if we have people here who do like this, what is called MBSR or whatever, mindfulness-based stress reduction, all this, it's become very, very popular, and I think it's really, really great that people do these practices and they feel that it's helping and all that. But if one could just add a little bit more, not just for this life, or at least, to become mindful in order to have ethical conduct, if that could be added to that, I think it would become so much more meaningful. That one wants not just ethical because I'm afraid of being seen by somebody and then I lose my good reputation of being an ethical person, not because of that, but being ethical because I'm sick and tired of harming others. That would be the reason why I want to be ethical. Not because I'm afraid of bad karma or whatever. That's already a good thing. See, if somebody doesn't steal my possessions because they're afraid to go to prison, that motivation for me is good enough. They don't need to have a motivation, I'm not going to steal her things because then she will suffer. I don't care what motivation they have. But for the person, the motivation, I am going to be ethical because I'm sick and tired of harming others, is more wide than just because so I don't create negative karma. Yeah? And the wider we can do the motivation, of course, the more meaningful it becomes, because as Rinpoche also said, I'm just one person. You see, I mean, I am just one person. I am the only one in this whole universe who calls myself I. Everybody else calls me you. And I make such a big fuss about myself, as if I'm the center of the universe. This is this ego grasping, this ego clinging, holding myself for more important than others. And it's such a strong habit. And when people have children, now you can raise your hands. How many of you have children? Nice, okay. When you have children, that ego mind, that ego chitta mind, you know, bodhicitta is the mind who wants to attain enlightenment. Ego chitta is like, this is, I invented that one. Ego chitta is kind of, I want happiness. It's an attitude. And it's good that we have it, by the way. So don't lose that one, because if you can't look after yourself anymore, there's no way you can look after others. But then it is good to start to widen it. You know, this interest in happiness that should come spontaneously, not, oh, you know, what shall I do today to be happy? This ego chitta is so strong, is so trained, that I don't have to think. You know, if I'm intelligent, I know what to avoid in order not to suffer, and I know what to do in order to be happy. But very often also the wisdom is not there, and I do silly things that are not so good. So anyway, but this interest to be happy, when you have children, very naturally it expands. This interest for just me becomes wider. And it goes on to the children. And it's not an obsessive kind of day, you know, being totally obsessed. What shall I do in order to make my children happy? It's an attitude, a way of behavior that is naturally and spontaneously there if you are normal as parents. Now, I don't have children, so could these people who have children please affirm that this is true? Is it true? Yes. So this is the mind of a Buddha, of a fully awakened being, not just for my children, but this attitude, never doing anything that would harm them, wanting to harm them. Of course, you have to tell your children, don't do that, and then they're not happy. So, but why do you do it? Not in order to make the children suffer. You do it in order to protect them. So when people hear loving kindness and compassion, they think that you have to let everybody do what they want to do. But this mind of compassion is paired with wisdom, and wisdom that goes long term. Yeah. And can you imagine, whenever you're in front of a Buddha, that you feel totally accepted the way you are? You don't have to put on an act. You don't have to be anybody special. You feel totally accepted. You feel totally that their interest is to help you. And this was also what Rinpoche was mentioning yesterday, is this guru devotion, this being totally open towards the guru, this total trust. And then you receive so many blessings. Then the practice is not so dry anymore also. Yeah? And the guru is then like the link to the Buddha. The guru is like a channel where the blessing of the Buddha can kind of then flows into you. But then again, you know, like then there's certain ways that you check your guru, whether your guru is a guru or not a guru. So that is the difficult thing. So how can you check a guru? It's by not hearing all this for the first time, and then you think, wow, great, I'm going to practice this. This is fantastic, but now I need a guru before I can start practicing. It's not like this. Usually you study, you listen to the teachings, you think about them, you meditate on them, you try to put them into practice. Then when you see His Holiness, the Dalai Lama usually says 2 years, at least, also before you take refuge. 2 years at least of serious practice, trying to put that, trying to do these things in your daily life, seeing that they work, feeling comfortable with them, kind of your mind is in accord that, yes, this is a good thing to do. Trying them out and then thinking, yeah, this is my way. Because, you see, how can you check a guru if you don't know the teachings? That guru can tell you anything. You need to see whether what the guru is giving in the teachings, whether that is according to what the Buddha taught. If you don't know it, how are you going to check? Yeah. So there's many teachers around. So you just, get whatever you get. People like me, sometimes, and but also there's so much on offer. Yeah. But then when you, and it's a hard thing that you feel that who is your guru. Like in my case also, I had my guru in front of my nose, my main guru, my root guru in front of my nose, 1.5 years, very close. I didn't recognize him as my guru. And then I asked for advice where I hoped for a no, so I could escape something, but he said yes. Yeah, see, sometimes also we ask the question in a way so that they understand, actually I would like a no. Don't do this, it's too advanced for you. That was the question. And he said, yes, it's okay. You can do it. And I went like, oh no. But I just asked him, not because because I saw him as my guru, I asked him because he was there. But somehow, I don't know why, I followed the advice. Also, it cost me a lot. Not money, okay, but like going against my habits of following an advice where I thought that was totally useless. I couldn't do that. Wasn't advanced enough and like that. So I followed the advice. Next time I saw him, I only saw him from the back. I saw his back, and I went like was like a flash in my heart. I went like, it's him, and that was it. So this is, you see, I recognized this person as my master, as my guru, after I had decided to follow his advice. So it's not Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Lama Zopa Rinpoche is one of my gurus, of course, but he is not my main guru. For some people, they might know it was Kirti Tsentrab Rinpoche. Whom I owe a lot, of course, because thanks to him, I got engaged in Dharma. Also, this, to be fortunate to believe what they say. So you need karma, you need the merit to believe what they say. Because when Kirti Tsentrab Rinpoche was teaching in Kopan on karma, and I looked at the list of these 10 negative actions, I went like, wow, I've done all of those. And not just in this life, I did believe in previous lives. I spent a totally sleepless night. I was afraid. And next day, Rinpoche talked about purification, and then I signed up for the 3 months Vajrasattva retreat. So that was very skillful. To really leave me with that fear for one night, and so then to continue. But before the time is over again, let's do a reflection on the motivation, I think. To really check, and then to change the motivation. You see, whatever action we do, even if the motivation is not pure at the beginning, don't then not do the action. Change the motivation. Yeah. So everything can turn, as Rinpoche says, every action can turn into bodhicitta. Every action can turn into bodhicitta motivation. Like, for example, you give money to a beggar, and you go, one day, may I give you dharma? Or you even say thank you to the beggar by allowing you to practice generosity. You see, generosity is one of the 6 perfections. So if we have only people around us who never want anything, how are we going to practice generosity? So the beggar becomes your wish-fulfilling jewel. He becomes the cause for your enlightenment. you see, can you also feel that we are sometimes totally confused? No? Is it only me? Yeah. And we never check, why are we so confused? So again, it's about intellectual knowledge, emotional reaction. I am very sure, everybody who is sitting here, if you could buy a good heart, you would spend money for it, would you? If you could, how call that? If you could recycle, yeah, maybe not recycle. If you could entsorgen auf Deutsch, was heißt das auf English? If you could, you know, your garbage that you kind of get rid of. You know, see, in German, the word when we recycle or when we get rid of these things, it's entsorgen, meaning your worries are gone. Yeah. Débarrasser, mais il n'y a pas le sens du mot là-dedans. Anyway, so if you could get rid of, if there would be a garbage bin out there and a big sign, here you can deposit your negative emotions, but for each one you have to pay a certain amount. Would you pay for that? The same as we have to pay when we have big things to bring to the garbage heap. Yeah? Would you pay money for that? To get rid of your negative emotions, if we could, you know, to dispose, exactly. Thank you. If we could dispose of them, but we have to pay like the same way as you have to pay for our material things, would you do it? Definitely. I'm pretty sure everybody who is sitting here would do that, right? But we can't. So, maybe fortunately we can't, because otherwise, again, it would only be for the rich. Yeah? So here, this one is available for everybody. So that's a good thing. So again, so I think why sometimes there's so much confusion, because inside our Buddha nature, it calls out to do these things, being generous, being patient, being loving, being compassionate. But then when we have occasions to do it, when we have opportunities to do it, we don't. Yeah? So you see these donation boxes, actually it's a very good example. Also in Bern, we really try to make the Dharma available for everybody, and that people take responsibility to give. You know, sometimes people say, you can give a small donation. Why a small donation? Why does a donation have to be small? It's another habit that we have, yeah? So that people, not to train people, it's not a nice thing to say, but to leave it up to people to give whatever they can give, not what it's worth. Because if we would have to pay what this is worth, you could not pay it. Because as Rinpoche was saying the first day, the wish-fulfilling is better than a wish-fulfilling jewel. Maybe you don't know what the wish-fulfilling jewel is. It's from like ancient India or something. It's a jewel that when you have it, it can fulfill all your material wishes. Today we would call it an unlimited Visa card. Now, can you imagine if you would have that, how you would protect it? This is our human life also. Having met the Dharma is more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel. All other beings are more precious than wish-fulfilling jewels, because they can give us enlightenment by allowing us to practice generosity, ethical conduct, patience. Without them, it's not possible. So this is why in this first verse they say, I will see everybody like a more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel. The wish-fulfilling jewel is only for this life. Yeah, and even then, you know, you're rich, doesn't mean you were happy. Yeah, when you're poor, you think, if I would be rich, I would be happy. You become rich, they're not happy all the time unless they share it also. Yeah, if they just use it for themselves, it doesn't give you happiness. This is the thing. Yeah. So then, when we have the occasion to do these things, the attitude is there, but then we don't do it. Somebody difficult comes along, what do? We run away. Ethical conduct becomes uncomfortable or expensive. What do? We choose unethical conduct. We're not afraid enough, and now I use the word fear actually, or we don't have enough common sense to see, you know, when they talk about karma, we're not, how to say, we don't trust the law of cause and effect enough because we don't see the result immediately. If you have a crossing, if you drive, and there's a traffic light, and you know that this camera there is always on, when the light gets yellow, you stop. Yeah? Even the light is only yellow, you stop, just in case it could get red. Yeah? Now, the karma camera, unfortunately, is always on, and it doesn't delete anything. And we don't trust it. We don't trust it. This is why we're not afraid of you know, we're not afraid of bearing the hardships now of keeping ethical conduct for the long-term. This I said wrong. We are afraid of bearing the short-term hardships of keeping ethical conduct, and with that, we lose long-term happiness. There's a very nice commentary also by some Theravadin monk, which is called Trading Candy for Gold. You see, the gold is in the future, and the candy is here. And we are so attached to these 8 worldly things, like now, I want happiness now, that we take the candy and we don't get the gold. And then we need people like Rinpoche to kind of show and inspire us again and again and again and again and again that the gold might be far away, but it's better than the candy. Candy gives rotten teeth anyway. That's samsara. Yeah, it's sweet. The first taste, very good, but problems follow. Yeah. But we have very short-term view, unfortunately. Okay, so we do a short reflection on motivation and why we're here, and then again trying to widen it. Yes, Maida. If you ask now, then there is danger that we don't reflect. Okay, ask and then we'll see. But you need to speak really loud. I am old and don't hear well. Oh, the microphone is coming. Okay. Gosh, this is not what I wrote down, what I wanted to say. All of this.
So I'm asking on behalf of a student from China that yesterday Rinpoche talked about the importance of abandoning the concern for this life.
Yes.
So the question is that they are lay people, we're lay people, and that being the most important aspect of practicing Dharma.
Yes.
How, as lay people, how do we do this to abandon this life?
Well, I think that's what I said. You know, you're not becoming miserable and not having any pleasure. You abandon, or you use antidotes for your negative emotions. Yeah, or what I just said now, this is what it is. We are so concerned about this life that we're not afraid of doing unethical conduct, because the ethical conduct would be too expensive or uncomfortable. Do you see what I mean? Like, it seems that the benefit from unethical conduct, the short-term benefit, seems to be quite appealing. Yeah, and the keeping of ethical conduct seems to be quite difficult sometimes, you know, being totally honest with your taxes and paying for everything and all these kind of things, yeah. Kind of abandoning the happiness of this life, also thinking about next life, thinking about what creates another happy, fortunate, what's it called, precious human rebirth. These kind of things. But it doesn't mean you're not interested in having happiness now. It doesn't mean that at all. Yeah, do you see what I mean? But also to really check. We'll do the reflection, maybe it becomes clearer, okay? Okay. So if you can, try to sit with a straight back, but try to be comfortable. So usually what you express with your body when you meditate, you express calmness, you express relaxed, and you express awake. So, like this, might look calm, but it doesn't really look awake, does it? Full of self-confidence. If you would have to express self-confidence with your body, if you would be a pantomime, how would you sit? Free. Oh, freedom is a nice word also. You know, the Buddha, free from all negative emotions, free from all fears, free from all worries. So this is why we practice. We practice to be happy. We don't practice to be miserable. Okay? Just think, close your eyes again, go inside and think, my nature that I have is to be free from all worries, fears, negative emotions. Freedom, peace. This is what the Buddha Dharma can offer you, a peaceful mind, a spacious mind, which we already have. Okay, so then you check, you check for yourself, what do I really want? Of course, happiness. But then, happiness has causes. So maybe better to ask, what kind of person do I have to be so that I will be happy? What does create happiness? You see, the habits of following these worldly concerns, they are so strong. And when we ask ourselves, what do I really want? Maybe you can give yourself some suggestions. I want to be a kind person. Try to see what effect that it has on your heart. Again, don't let the ego interfere and say, yeah, but you're bad and blah, blah, no. Tell the ego to shut up for a moment. Just leave me alone. May I be a kind person. May I be able to meet everybody with an open heart. Ask yourself, is that what I want? May I be patient. Recognize when anger arises. And without having to suppress it or act it out, may I be able to apply the antidote, which is just awareness. May I be able to let go. Not to identify with it. Or we could also have as attitude, may I be able to live in the present. To let go of past events, even though it was only yesterday, as seeing them as dreams, finished, past. May I be able to let go of too many fears or worries about the future. Because life is only happening in the present. May I live my life with joy and ease. And then we open up our hearts and we think all these qualities that I want for myself, may they benefit others. This very beautiful motivation also from Rinpoche, if you can go out of the house with that motivation. Whoever hears, sees, touches me or thinks about me, may it only be of benefit to them. Whoever sees, hears me, touches me or thinks about me, may it only be of benefit to them. Don't worry how this is going to happen. It's just the attitude that we develop. And then see what kind of effect it has on your heart when we connect to our nature, our goodness, our spaciousness, and our wisdom. So then we see that at the moment we're not able to really benefit others because we can't even benefit ourselves properly. So then with this bodhicitta motivation, that we think, there's so many beings out there, so you try to encompass that with your mind. All sentient beings, the mind becomes very wide. I am just a tiny, 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 tiny part of this universe. But I can play a role, I can make a difference. Because I also have Buddha nature. Purpose of my life, I want to make that the purpose of my life, to benefit others in whatever way I can, however limited it may be. First not harming them, then benefiting them. This is why I practice. In order to develop the mind to its fullest potential. That potential is already there. So please, just that potential. We are all good people. That's why we're here. We're all confused. That's also why we're here, in order to clear up the confusion. So may I develop my mind to its fullest potential, becoming a Buddha, being omniscient, seeing exactly what goes on in other people's minds, what they need, what they can take. So I can inspire them, for them to also develop their potential. Okay, thank you. So you see these worries about the future that we are plagued with. We're trying to control the world kind of so that I can find what I want, gain and praise and good reputation and no pain. So that is creating a lot of fears. There was one lady who was asked before she died what she regrets the most. And she said, I regret the most about having had so much fears about the future in my life, because it spoils the present. Yeah. Because she said when the difficult situation came, the fear was gone because I had to react. But the fear, the worry before it came, that was the worst. She said, if I could redo the whole thing, the whole life, this is what I would work with. Not to worry so much about the future. It doesn't mean, now again, for the people who, daily life, like, I also, when Maida says, well, they're lay people, what do you think? Ordained people don't have to look after themselves. It's like, it doesn't change that much. You still have a body that gets sick and that needs care on all that. So, I mean, what we're trying to give up is only for the happiness of this life, or being attached to the pleasures of this life. So the pleasure is not the problem. The pleasant feeling is not the problem, but believing that the pleasant feeling comes from the object that your mind is touching, that is the problem. Yeah? The pleasant feeling comes because positive karma ripening, that's all. Yeah. Whether you experience something as pleasant, it doesn't come from the object. Give you a good example. For my father, Swiss person, cheese was like paradise. For me, it was hell. And he couldn't understand that his daughter, that he loved so much, doesn't share with him the pleasure of eating cheese. So he forced me, not because he hated me, he forced me to eat cheese because he wanted me to discover the pleasure of cheese. But I didn't have the karma to have pleasure eating cheese. I almost vomited every time. He did it only twice, then he stopped, okay? So don't think he was a bad person. He was a very good person, my dad. He was my hero. So then... So then, where's the pleasure? Is it in the cheese? If the pleasure is in the cheese, I should have also, by eating it, discovered it, right? So, but this is what our confused mind is projecting, that the pleasant feeling comes from the object. So even we hear, even us, Dharma people, I've heard it so many times, when you see something, you go like, ah, so beautiful. And we make another imprint to again believe that the beauty is in the sunset or in the rainbow or in whatever. Yeah? Again. And then again we react like this. And again we react like this. So then the training is when you see something beautiful, you go, oh, it's very beautiful, but it's only my mind. Because my mind is in a good state, this is why I experience it as beautiful. Yeah. Then the beauty is still there. Don't be afraid. People think that, oh, well, then my life becomes very boring. You know, if you look at these realized beings, how whatever their minds touch, they feel, you know, they're awed. They feel, how to say, because they're not attached to these things. It's almost like Tenzin Rinpoche, whatever. When he had flowers on his table, kind of he was looking at them and he was going like this. You know, this is the mind of a Buddha. That whatever their senses touch produces a pleasant feeling. So maybe now taking the hardships of this quite difficult path seems a bit more appealing. You know, this is why they're always in such a good mood. This is why they always have so much energy, because nothing is kind of constricting them. So what you're giving up is your attachment and your aversion, and you change it, and then you still react. As I said yesterday, whenever you have a difficult situation and it gets very tight in here, try to get out of that tightness and think, what would the difficult situation be if there wouldn't be anger or attachment or desire now? Because then already you made the step out of that. It still kind of churns, but you made the step out of that situation. And then whenever you can, you know, get up in the morning and, as Rinpoche says, practice bodhicitta. Or whatever you do with compassion, even though maybe first it's just faked, or faked is not the right word, if it's kind of contrived, if it's artificial, with being artificial, slowly, it becomes a habit. The same way as we are habituated of looking after ourselves, or what we call mine, you know, mine, my children, my country, my religion, my football club, my this, my that, you know. Football club is a really good example, yeah. If you have, like, we need to belong somewhere, so then you put on jerseys of certain colors, and then maybe you didn't know the stadium, and then you end up in the wrong section. So your team makes a goal, but you're in the wrong section. You don't dare to go, yeah, because otherwise you get beaten up, yeah. So again, you know, the joy of somebody making a goal, is it the ball going into this cage there? Yeah, it is not. It's like, it's again what you think, which kind of team you belong to. Also, teams is a good way maybe to explain the attitude that we want to change. You know, with bodhicitta, or then with also a view of emptiness, I'll try to go into that a little bit. Out of me and them, I'm not making I become Venerable Birgit, but I'm making us. And this is where the football club comes from. When we are us, we behave totally differently than when I am I and others. So if I'm in the right corner, I become part of a us. If I'm in the wrong corner, I am me and them. And unfortunately, very often we're in the wrong corner. So we need to change corners. You know, we need to have a universal jersey. Yeah. So the Buddhas are like, what's his name? Gutierrez, yeah? This one from the UN. You know, Kofi Annan, and then it was Ban Ki-moon, and now it's Gutierrez. Oh, I'm attached to newspapers and news, so this is why I know these guys. So he is concerned about the happiness of all nations. I mean, that's his job. Yeah. Whereas the individual presidents, they're only concerned about the happiness of their nation. So Buddha, Bodhisattva, is concerned about the happiness of all, very wide. You know, it doesn't mean you become like cold and you don't worry anymore, or you don't, worry is not the right word. You're not concerned with the happiness of others anymore, but you're concerned with the happiness of all. So for an ordinary being, of course, that's very stressful, because we still have this I who wants happiness. So that's another confusion in us baby bodhisattvas, right? We want to be grown-up bodhisattvas, but we still want happiness for ourselves. So again, it's this kind of calculating thing, yeah? Like, you know, I want to be kind, but then I'm afraid that people will not respect me anymore. People will think I am naive. It's true. Some people might think you are naive when you are kind to unkind people. But it's the best way to bring them in contact with their own goodness that they have, by being kind. So I would like to quote Jesus, who I know is not a Buddhist, but he has a lot of, there's also a lot of inspiration there when he said, you have to love the ones who don't deserve to be loved. Phew. Because they need it the most. It could have come from the Buddha, but it's a quote by Jesus. Love the ones who don't deserve your love, because they need it. But if we have so much self-concern, and then again our own anger meets their anger, and then we have the mirror neurons, and then it's like, and then our anger tells us, if I'm angry with them, they will change, they will learn a lesson. It is not true. So yesterday it was somebody, was it you who were here for the kids? Yeah, exactly. So you see, I am an ordained person, okay? So I have vows. So when I hear about this abuse of priests to children, I can imagine what it means for somebody who has vows to do these horrible things. They are already in hell. Yeah, it's not that I don't have compassion for the kids, but somehow I think that maybe it's a strong example. Maybe it's too strong. If somebody is unkind to me, okay, I can get out of their way. I'm the victim. I get compassion for others. If I am unkind to somebody else, I'm actually in a worse position because I feel bad about myself. I know everybody knows what they're doing, even though they say, no, they don't. I'm sure they know, And having vows and then abusing children, this is like, wow. The fear that it comes out, having to suppress it, having to ignore it and all this. Now, I'm not asking for you to, that it's to belittle what they did is horrific. It is really horrible, and it should not happen. And it's not only the Catholic Church. I think every religion has, in German we say, Dreck am Stecken. I don't know how to say in English. It means they have like dirt on their stick kind of thing. They have something to hide. But it doesn't mean that the religion is no good, It means that ordinary concern, ordinary dharma came into it. Self-concern, being only concerned with their own happiness, not being able to withstand their desire, maybe not having anybody to talk to help them to deal with their aggression. Yeah, there's a very nice saying who says, if suffering doesn't know what to do with itself, it turns into aggression. And it's so true. If we would have less suffering in this world, we would have less aggression, If attachment doesn't get what it wants, it gets angry. Most of the anger we have comes out of attachment because we have expectations. We want certain things. We think that people should give them to us and all this. Most of it. Yeah. So like this. So what Rinpoche was also talking about is like this hallucinated I or me. So it doesn't mean that we don't have an I, but we do not have the I that we think we have. We have a merely labeled I, meaning a name we give to this combination of body and mind who changes moment by moment by moment by moment. Yeah, we can see that the body changes moment by moment by moment, and the mind changes moment by moment by moment. And then we project, our ignorance projects a possessor, an I, a third entity into there, and then that entity becomes, it becomes impermanent. It becomes existing from its own side, meaning independent, and it becomes only one. So you see, even though we have different personalities, I can be really horrible. I can bring you some people who sit here who can confirm that. I can also be very kind. Yeah. So what am I? Am I a kind person or a horrible person? You can't say you're both at the same time because it's totally contradicting. So basically we have like a lot of these personalities, but there is no solid, fixed I, me, to whom this all belongs, but we do project it into there. Yeah? And we're convinced that this I exists. Whenever we think I, maybe we do a short reflection on that as well. But just imagine, if somebody comes and says, I can give you a new body, would you take it? I would. You know, body without pain, doesn't need any care, very fit. I used to do a lot of skiing and climbing. You know, maybe it's better I can't, so I don't waste time with it anymore. But I don't know if I would go then again to the mountains. But I would, you know, I could sit on the floor again. I would take a new body without pain. I would. I don't know about you guys, but probably also. If somebody would come and tell you, I can give you a mind which is free, a new mind, which is free from negative emotions and has love and compassion, would you take it? Yes. No? Yeah. Okay. So then at one point the exchange has to happen. Yeah? So one thinks, okay, I get a new body, and I get a new mind. But then the I is still the same, isn't it? Yeah. If you imagine that the exchange would happen, then you think, but I, me, who gets a new body and who gets a new mind, that one is still the same. Just then I have a better body and I have a better mind. So that is the illusion. This seemingly independent, self-existing I, that doesn't exist. Yeah. Okay, so this is what Rinpoche was talking about. And what he says, you see that an I that seems to exist from its own side, that disappears, that is not so much the problem. It's the third second. He was talking about seconds. Yeah, he said like a merely labeled I appears, but then what appears back to us is a really, truly existing I. So the appearance is not so much the problem. The problem is that the third second, we grasp at it and we hold it for real. Okay? That is the problem. This is why we have to hear it again and again and again and again. Then he talked about the mirage. So I don't know how many of you have already been in the desert and have seen a mirage. Anybody has seen a mirage? Okay. Andrea, it looks totally like water, doesn't it? I mean, it's not just flimmering air. You see in the distance, it looks like a lake. So if you don't know that this is not water and you're thirsty, you react and you run towards it. You get there, the deception, it's not water. But the mind creates another imprint, believing that there is water there because you have gone there. It's not that the mind kind of sees that there is no water, okay? When you know that it's not water, even you're thirsty, you don't go, even though it appears. So when we see appearance as appearance, that's when he went like vase put on the vase, I put on the I. When we see appearance as appearance, we don't react to it. Rainbows. How many of you like rainbows? Okay. The Tibetans only are fascinated by rainbows when they appear in the blue sky and it's not raining. Then they go, wow. We kind of react to every rainbow. And we all know that rainbow is just a coming together of certain causes and conditions. Now for us Westerners, a dark sky, it has rained, there's quite a lot of humidity and the sun shining in it. Yeah. So we enjoy the rainbow very much. Why? Because we come into the present. Why do we enjoy it so much? Because we can't possess it. We can't manipulate it. We cannot say, I saw it first, it's mine, it's not yours. And then somebody else say, but I want it as well. But if I think it's mine, I start to fight with that person and we forget about the rainbow. Yeah? I know I can't possess it. This is why everybody likes it. There's no attachment because we know it's impermanent. So when the rainbow fades, nobody goes like, "Ah, it's gone. It made me so happy. What am I going to do without the rainbow now?" If somebody would do this, we would think they're totally loopy. Isn't it? So why can we enjoy the rainbow? Because we know its nature. It has causes and conditions that when they come together, there is a rainbow, but it will also fade away. It is impermanent. So every phenomena is just like a rainbow. So this also made up for the, daily life, not to renounce this life. Whatever comes along that is pleasant, we enjoy. And then not just for ourselves, we just go like, "Ah, so nice, may all beings enjoy this." Yeah, then there's loving kindness, and we want to share. And it's not just for me. And we know it's impermanent. We know it's not going to stay. But we enjoy while it's there, instead of going, "Oh, but I will lose it, so then I don't want to enjoy it because otherwise," like that. Actually, you enjoy much better when you know it is impermanent, because you know you have to enjoy it now. You can't wait until later. Yeah, we always wait until later. Have you ever noticed that we start to appreciate things once they're gone? Or that we kind of go like, "Oh, why didn't I appreciate it when it was there?" It's too late, guys. It's too late. So whenever you see something that is beautiful, you just go like, "Wow, so beautiful. May all beings enjoy that." Whenever something unpleasant comes along, we also know it's impermanent. It has causes. And you go, "May nobody," and you suffer, and you go like, "May nobody suffer from this." Then again, we open up. We see, I'm not the only one. Did you ever get nervous in a traffic jam? Kind of impatient? Huh? Okay. Do you have the presence of mind sometimes to look to the front, to the back, to the side, and to think, "Hey, I'm not the only one here. Hi. How are you? May you be happy. May you be well." Yeah? Have you ever had that idea to do that? What happens when you do that? You relax. It's only when we think, "I am the only one who is suffering," that then the problem becomes very small, very big, This reflection that we did, when you think that the happiness of the world depends on you and is on your shoulders, this is sometimes we think, isn't it? And you think, "Hey, I am just a tiny, 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 tiny particle in this world." So for people who have very low self-esteem, maybe this is not so helpful, I don't know. But in general, it really opens up, and you become, you can breathe again. We take ourselves far too seriously, I think, very often. As ordinary beings, we cannot change the world. So that also, low self-esteem, when the Dalai Lama was asked this question in Toulouse, he kind of, he gets asked this question, what to do with low self-esteem. First, he didn't even know what people were talking about, because it was professors kind of asking him this question. He said, "Wow, if you, Harvard professors, if you, la crème de la crème of the intelligence in this country, are asking these questions, how about these people in the street?" So anyway, then now he got used to he got familiar with the question, and then he said to whoever asked that question about low self-esteem, so he said, "Look, just relax, because God has failed, the Buddha has failed, Muhammad has failed, Allah has failed. All these beings want everybody to be happy, and look, they have failed. So who do you think you are that you will succeed to make everybody happy?" So we cannot change the world, but we can change our mind, and this is why we're here. And this is what these methods and these practices are for. So as Rinpoche says, if you have the occasion to kind of learn about these, to listen to these methods, to think about them, to meditate on them, then that would be truly wonderful, because I think we can make a better world by changing our mind, by bringing less aggression to this world. We don't have to contribute to the aggression in this world. Yeah? Okay, so again, you didn't ask questions. Well, I didn't let you, I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm around, so same as yesterday, if you do have questions, then you can always ask. Okay, so thank you very much for listening so patiently. And let's dedicate again all the positive energy that we have created by, thinking about these things, reflecting on them, setting our motivation that, yes, it would be good to be a kind and compassionate and wise person, knowing that there is methods to do that. Top of it, having living examples who live that. It's not just in museums and in books, as Rinpoche says. You can touch these people, you can listen to them, you can see them, you can receive blessings from them if you're open. You can feel their love and compassion if you're open and not afraid. So we're so fortunate. We're so lucky. So may we be able to use that situation that we are in at the moment in order to develop our minds to then become fully awakened so that we can benefit all sentient beings. Thank you very much. And again, please enjoy your lunch. You have not understood the first noble truth of suffering if you don't enjoy your food. You say, yeah, this is suffering. The suffering is in your mind, it's not in the food. Yeah. If your mind is pure, everything becomes nectar. If your mind is unhappy and dissatisfied, you can put the best chocolate cake there, it will not taste good. It is really in the mind. So please understand that. So it's not the fault of the cook if the food is not good, it's the fault of your mind. Okay? So please enjoy. Thank you.
Ma traductrice n'est pas là, ça fait rien. Mais si je fais des compliments sur toi, tu peux traduire. Ok. Okay.
Go. So he said. So I said the translator is not here. So I said you need to make short phrases because my short-term memory is getting really bad. It's not getting bad. It is bad. And so he said, "What if I make compliments?" I said, "I tell my ego to leave, and then I can translate the compliments."
Donc si vous souhaitez recroiser le regard et puis les enseignements de Vénérable Losang, on vous invite à venir au mois de janvier au centre GENDUNDRUPA à Martigny pour assister à un enseignement sur quand le chocolat vient à manquer.
So if you would like to listen to Venerable Losang again, so she will be in Martigny in January, and we will she will talk about... She will talk especially about, again, we'll look at these 8 worldly dharmas, and we'll talk especially about arrogance and jealousy, which usually we always talk about attachment and anger, but we'll put also a big attention on jealousy and arrogance.
Et puis en plus, ça sera en français. Donc avec l'accent suisse-allemand de Vénérable Losang, c'est super cool.
Also, she will teach in French, which is really funny because she invents words that don't exist, and with her accent, it's really cool.
Et puis il n'y aura pas de traduction. Hein.
And then there will be no translation.
Donc merci beaucoup, Losang. C'est toujours un plaisir. Et puis quand Rinpoche reviendra en Suisse, si tu es d'accord de refaire des révisions.
So thank you very much, Losang. And if Rinpoche comes back to Switzerland, which I hope very much, would you also please do the revision? Yes.
Thank you. Donc, je vous laisse découvrir le programme pour la suite.
So please check the program for the following afternoon.
Et en particulier, vous voyez, à 14h, donc Rinpoche va venir pour préparer l'initiation. Donc, s'il vous plaît, de rester le plus tranquille possible à l'extérieur.
So Rinpoche will come at 2 o'clock to do the self-initiation or the preparation for the initiation. So even when you're outside, please do not make too much noise. Can they come inside? No? Okay. No, the whole... Okay, we didn't get the message whether you can, sometimes you can be here when Rinpoche is doing the preparation, which the energy is really beautiful, but then it's absolute silence. I mean, there's no way that you can talk.
Je pense qu'on va lui demander, et comme ça on vous donnera l'information après.
We will ask Rinpoche if anybody wants to come, and then we will give you the information.
Et puis, quelqu'un m'a soufflé ce matin, j'étais peut-être pas encore bien réveillé, que Rinpoche a parlé d'un livre hier soir qui serait intéressant de lire avant de commencer une retraite ou pendant une retraite.
So Rinpoche talked about a text yesterday that it would be really good to read before you start a retreat. And here it's in French, it's Tenter son esprit. In English, it's Opening the Door to Dharma.
Donc, si jamais ce livre en français se trouve à la boutique, et puis s'il n'y en a plus assez, on peut les commander aux éditions Vajrayogini.
So the French book is out there, and if there's not enough for everybody, they can order them again in Institut Vajrayogini.
Voilà. Merci. Vous n'avez pas de questions sur le programme? Ça va comme ça? Voilà. Ça va? Vous allez bien? Oui, vous avez l'air, en tout cas, encore tout concentré par rapport à ce que vous venez de recevoir. C'est magnifique.
So everybody is okay? Do you have any questions on the program? No? You feel okay? Looks like it. You were very concentrated.
Alors, Guette.
So please enjoy your meal. In Swiss German is Gute. In French is Bon Appetit. In Chinese, Maida? Jing Xiang Yung, Bon Appetito, and what else do we have? Huh?
En hollandais?
En hollandais?
Voilà. Ouais, voilà. À tout à l'heure. Au revoir. Merci.
Tu t'es fait toutes ces notes, mais j'ai un peu sauté à gauche et à droite.
C'est un peu comme moi. Moi, je commence quelque chose, puis après...
What to do?
Best we can.